Hi everyone, it's DM Captain Obvious, and I'm on leadchess.org. I'm about to be playing a 30 plus 5 game against MagiKarpovusedSpash. Alright, so we'll kick things off with our typical e4. See what MagiKarpov wants to do here. We are going to get e5. I was anticipating a Sicilian, but Knight f6, we will go into the Falkbeer variations of the Vienna games. Try to gambit a pawn, get control of the center. I might still play f4 against knight c6 or d6. Against bishop c5, I'm going to have to think if that's what I... Yeah, so we do see d6. So this is actually a line that has transposed a lot. Oh, well, he actually takes after d6. That's a little surprising. So we are going to get this. This is mainline ideas. You get a kind of a good King's Gambit-like position. And I am going to try to get away with murder, maybe. Ooh, bishop c4 is really tempting here. It's kind of the wild Muzio Gambit, where maybe even bishop c4 was needed before d4. Maybe 5d5 or 5d4 was a mistake. Because if my bishop was already here, then I could castle gambit this pawn with queen takes f3, but I don't think that it is as good in this position. Maybe d4 was a little too hasty. Should have used some more time there if I wanted to play this line. If we can imagine the pawn still here, bishop here, then after castle short takes, and we get a very interesting attacking opportunity. Probably not good, but it would be fun. So what to do? I don't want to play knight g1, but that might be best. Queen h4 is going to come if I'm not careful. Oh no, not queen h4, my knight. Well, assuming my knight moves, then queen h4 is a possibility. So I really want to gambit my knight. It can't be good. But say he takes, queen h4, g3 maybe? So bishop c4 takes. Now if he plays queen h4, g3, if pawn takes, queen takes. You know what? Let's have a little fun. I don't know if queen h4 is correct here. Maybe even developing the bishop somehow. Well, maybe not. This comes fast, and then I am going to get all of my pieces attacking while black is sitting back, underdeveloped. But it is a full piece, so this might not be technically correct. But it should be fun. There's a lot of accidents that can happen here if black is not careful. So things to consider: queen h4 does, in a lot of setups, if you let black, he wants to put his bishop on g7, but I don't think that is great, looking to grab this pawn. But I think that spending 2 tempi so he does play this. And I'm not actually... Okay, so he's looking to trade queens now. That's upsetting. That's a good move. I missed that idea. Just queen g4. Yeah, that's pretty bad for me. I don't want to. I don't want to trade queens. I really can't afford to. I'm down a piece. And I'm putting all my eggs in this attacking basket. So, hopefully he doesn't defend this position in a Karpovian way. I'll need black to make some mistakes to climb back into this when it looks like I completely overlooked queen g4. Um, Probably just bishop e6 to challenge my idea, and then I'll drop my bishop back to e2, hit his queen, pick up this pawn, and pretend that I'm not down a piece. At least for a little while, I'll pretend I'm not down a piece and see if I can drum up some kind of activity or counterplay. Yeah, it's a good move. It's a good move. Okay, where is he going to... You know, he actually has this intermezzo idea, though. He can now take on g3 now that my bishop's moved, so... And try to see if I want to trade queens yet again, which I won't. I'll take the open H file. But I need to probably castle long here. Yeah, he finds it. He finds it. I've got a lot of nice assets in the position, but there's no clear way to utilize them right now. Where is he going to put that queen? Probably just on g6. And once the queen is on g6, if this bishop strays in the wrong direction, maybe I've No, I'm so far away from having any kind of tactics. D4 I'm going to regret for some time. There are lines where you get more active play if you don't play d4 and you have bishop c4 already. You've already castled and you already have a battery formed. You're not looking at queen h4 checks. This whole idea was probably a little foolhardy. I can bully his queen a little bit. He can just sidestep and offer another trade. So... what? Well, okay. We'll just... Yeah, we will just try to castle, though he is also going to be able to castle quickly if he so chooses. Note that, of course, this runs into a fork, so definitely needs to develop to d7 if he wants to go the queenside castle route, which I suspect he will. It wouldn't make sense to... Well, I guess maybe it's not the worst thing, because then you do get this, and I am down a piece. So, but yeah. So he does, of course, go for this queenside castle, get out of danger. Well, we'll both castle, and I will attack. And hopefully I can organize my pieces with some kind of lifts, some kind of... Am I actually so worried in this position suddenly? Huh. We're playing rather fast for a 30+5 game, I realize. So let's slow it down. Let's slow it down. He always has knight b8. I'm never checkmating him, so that's not a concern. Does it benefit me to take this pawn in any way? I don't see it. Unless it doesn't benefit me to undevelop, more to the point. Because if I take bishop takes, check does nothing, and then I have to drop my knight back to an undesirable square, whereas takes, queen takes, now after this position I take the pawn, and now I will have the idea of knight b5 with check and knight. And I have much more much more ways to create an imbalanced queenside where maybe if I can survive long enough, I can maybe even get a passed a pawn in the end game. I don't want him to be able to initiate this trade, so I think this is correct. And maybe actually I'm not in hot water here as I was out of the opening. I do like this now. I am going to get some. I just have to make sure not to hang any pieces. This queen could become very active very quickly, but he still has some development issues with his kingside pieces. So I need to make use of this initiative quickly. And I might just be able to do that. I'm starting to have some devious ideas here. This pawn is a big thorn in his position. And this bishop is actually very nicely placed for me. I wonder if he should just open a square for his king to run and just run his king over. But even then, that's when you start to look at those assets I mentioned, these half-open files where maybe I still can create a lot of pressure. And just like that, I think that we've got a very uncomfortable position for black. This was so sloppy. I think I've really been let back into the game. That D4 move and then still going for this was definitely mixing up move order. Now I'm being generous to myself. It was just overly ambitious play, but right now I am getting a lot of activity. I think black has to tread lightly here. I'm not even convinced I'm worse anymore, to be honest. I think that this is suddenly compensation for the piece. I know I'm still down material. It's hard for me to envision not getting some pawns here, at least pawns on the queen side. Maybe he even has to... No, I don't see him having to give a piece back, but it's difficult for black to drum up any counterplay because his only active piece is the queen, and she's kind of off sides. The action is suddenly happening here. There's no way to prevent knight b5 coming. This is just a suicidal move for a great many reasons. They're just opening things up to the king. And again, we see that in this weird... I don't know if this will still be flagged as a Muzio Gambit, but because the move order is wrong. It's probably just the DM Captain Obvious Blunder-Gambit. But here we definitely have decent compensation, and I feel like this position is at the very least dynamically equal. I gotta settle down a little here. I'm riding on a couple cups of coffee and got excited in the opening there. Have some water and try to really consider things here. I think my plans are very straightforward. Black needs to develop. Black needs to develop. I wonder if it's very difficult because, you know, you'd love to play a move to challenge and start getting pieces off the board, but I control some of these squares. And, you know, what are these moves doing with the knight? Putting his bishop here doesn't address the problems coming on the queen side against his king. And suddenly we kind of have an interesting position. We kind of have a scary thing here coming for black. I really like how this is turned. I'm not positive because where black might have gone astray, maybe offering the bishop trade. What else could he have done, though? I mean, what else could he have done in this position? This seems logical. Maybe even delaying castling. Maybe a move like d5. No, d5 just gives up a pawn. Oh, no, it gives up much more. That's terrible. That's a terrible move. Well, maybe not. Maybe you try to go for play. Because if you start forcing me to trade off, then these doubled pawns aren't going to be scary. Maybe that is a move. Because he's up material. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what else he could have done. Maybe even brought his knight here so that he could respond to d5, dropping the bishop back, and then castling. Maybe castling here was preemptive. Okay, so he does play bishop g7. And I don't see why I don't just check him and then play knight b5. Does it matter if I play knight b5 first or second? Knight b5, he can actually then play knight b6, which is an active square that guards queen a8. So I do think I want to play queen a8 while I have the chance. This move allows this, and I don't want that. So we will check, then we will play knight b5, and we will see what he wants to do. Whoa. Okay. a4, yeah? a4 anchoring this guy? It's a nice move. That's a nice move. That's a very nice move. A good defensive resource here. What happens if he grabs on e4? After a5. Or a4, pardon me. What happens? He grabs on e4, and then if I don't have anything after the check, do I? King here, queen takes. Very nice, very nice. What about a move like rook rook d4? Am I just being crazy? Oh, there's a bishop here now. Yeah, there's no rook d4. Alas. Rook d4, bishop takes, knight here takes. That's suicide. Come on, there's nothing there. That's crazy talk. He just moves the rook. I'm still considering wild-looking moves just to create attacking chances. Here. Looks good. So, a4, queen takes e4, rook h, e1, and now my rook will have this cut off, so the king can't run too far. And I still have the checks covered. Although then I won't have my rook eyeballing h6 anymore, so he could try to trade those dark square bishops off. Maybe I'm actually okay there. Maybe the rook moving, the h1 rook moving to e1 is okay, because it will kind of box his king in. I could be grasping for straws. This might just be lost. But I do still feel like I have chances. I just need to figure out oh, and I guess actually rook d4 doesn't even work because he can even ignore the exchange and take the dangerous knight. So he doesn't even need to allow anything there. And I don't have time for anything like this because, again, the knight's hanging. Checking here might not even... Checking here doesn't seem as appealing because he can then run his king here. Maybe I want him to take on e4. Maybe I really do. To try to create those complications where this is anchored without this pawn here. And maybe I can magic up some kind of mating attack or something where I at least get a little more, get this sharpened up even more. So yeah, let's go for this. Let's see if he goes and takes on e4, which we will meet with rook e1, rook he1, and then in that position, I believe we'll have check and takes. Well, depending on, well, I missed one queen move. Let's consider, where is the queen going to move after rook he1? Assuming that he takes the pawn. If she transfers back to the king side, I'm not worried. But what about a move like this, where she's suddenly hitting my b2 point? We're going to liven up if he decides to grab this pawn, that's for sure. That is for sure. So queen takes rook there, and then let's say queen b4. So a position like this. And she's eyeballing b2. I think I have to play c3 there to blunt that bishop. There is no bishop takes. The knight still watches that square. But I think we're going to see this maneuver. And after c3, I do wonder if he can play the queen to c5 to try to keep a defender near the king. I think it would be a mistake to move the queen away. Assuming he goes for this queen takes e4 idea, I think it would be wrong to remove a really powerful piece from the area of action. I suspect we're going to see this line with c3. I just have to figure out what I want to do after queen c5. Sharp, sharp. Okay, so queen c5. The queen's here. If I check, he just runs, and I don't have a follow-up. I actually don't have a follow-up to this and then that. I'll just be worse, and my initiative will dwindle. Put queen on c5. Do I have bishop takes? Do I have bishop takes d6 there? Bishop takes d6. If rook takes d6, then I'm checkmating him, yeah? With queen takes knight, and then the rook on e1 is mating him. So he can't take, if I have bishop takes d6, he doesn't have rook takes because that's mate in 3 with a queen sacrifice. God, that's beautiful. Probably not good, but I'll keep looking at that line. Queen takes e4, rook h e1, queen b4, c3, queen c5, bishop takes. There is no rook takes because of queen takes knight and rook e8. Bishop takes, pawn, there's no queen takes because the knight takes queen, that's silly. Bishop takes, pawn takes would be forced. After which, now in that position, knight takes and the king cannot. Knight e7. I was getting excited there. I thought I saw some cool sacrificial lines. We'll look at them after the game. Knight e7. Maybe he saw this idea of rook e1 cutting the king off, and he really just didn't want to deal with it, and he just knows he's up material, get all the pieces active. And this is bringing a piece closer to the king side. Right now it doesn't have squares, but now if he takes, he'll have immediate pressure on d5 as well. That's sad. I was really, really hoping for. I'll put the mate on the board in the post-game analysis. I do think I had bishop d6 in that line with takes here, here, here. Bishop takes d6. Oh well. Oh well. Position at hand. Knight to e7. My rook wants to be on e1. Save the pawn, push the queen. little salty he didn't go for that. Why couldn't he be greedy? Maybe this isn't even actually that good of a move. I'm not entirely sure. I still get this position. And I do need to keep an eye out for ideas with sacrifices. Depending on where the queen goes, I also still have these sorts of rook lift ideas. But we will sort that all out pending where the queen goes. So let's look at some available options. Maybe queen c4 makes the most sense. Again, I don't know if he really wants to be moving his queen away from the action. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and start looking at queen c4. Queen c4, b3 opens the eyes of his bishop, but then if he gets this... Do I want to play b3 in that position? The dark squares look terrifying. And this knight suddenly would have a responsibility if the queen goes to c5 to prevent me from just getting butchered. Man. I'm going to be salty about that d4 move forever. Okay. So, queen c4, here, here, here. Maybe I can chase him. Is he in trouble? Comes here. Is there a way to trap the queen? If he comes to queen c4, is there a way to trap her? I might be trapping the queen. I might have to give up a rook. But maybe queen c4 is wrong. Maybe queen c4. Maybe he needs to play queen f2. That's the next. I don't like these moves, and these don't really do anything. But queen f2 might be best because then he's staying active. He's staying active. Well, relatively active. Queen c4, b3, queen c5, bishop comes back. So, boop, boop, boop. And then he has to come here. He could come to b4 instead of c5 and not allow me to have... Well, he would still have bishop d2. I don't know if that's good there, though. And then if I get that, I would actually have bishop a6, and he would have to run because of the threat of just queen takes knight. And once he runs... Do I take and I have a bishop here? Does that change the balance of the attack? This is actually kind of getting a little scary if he plays queen c4. Queen c4, b3, queen to... So queen c4, b3, queen b4. I still play bishop d2, force him here, come here, make him come back, and then play bishop a7. I don't want to draw. I think I actually have an attack. Once my bishop lands on a7... Wow. So we're not getting bishop or queen c4 lines. And we're not getting queen f2 lines either. We are simply getting the queen coming all the way back to h5. Which I don't like. It's probably not bad. I mean, he's still up material. There's no decisive... nothing I'm seeing that is forcing beyond knight a7 check, which picks up the b7 pawn once he plays king to d7. But maybe that's not so bad. Again, this a4 move now is kind of scary for him. I'm suddenly actually eyeballing situations where this a pawn runs really fast once this pawn falls. And I'm getting much more out of this than I deserve. I'm getting much more play out of this. Yeah. as I'll try not to harp on it too much in the post game, but d4 instead of bishop c4 was just terrible if I was going to go for this idea. Let's get the pawn. Let's get the pawn. This guy is getting bigger. I've got my pieces are in good places. Keep the pressure on. Keep the pressure. What happens here? I have tricks. I have tricks on the d6 pawn now. Which piece do I want to take with? I want to take with the bishop. We looked at this before. This is in a pin. He cannot take it. This is now getting big. He wants to trade. I want to not trade. Let's think. I'm not coming all the way back. What's the value of this? I can come here and put pressure on this pawn. I could do that as well from here. Covering. Do I need to cover this diagonal? No, I'll probably play king b1 if he checks me. The value here is also that I have access to these squares. And maybe even a couple more. I don't see why I would need them, but let's just err on the side of caution. c5 gives me a little bit extra mobility, and I like this idea maybe. We just finally got the livening up that I was hoping for. We finally get to land this bishop d6 move. And maybe black is actually in a lot of trouble here. Maybe he... So he does check. Okay. So he does check, and I believe king b1 is correct. I'm not going to overthink this one. I definitely don't want to invite his queen to make more free moves and get my bishop farther away from where I want it. This is where I want this guy. This has got to be really scary for black. What is... I mean, he's got to be feeling the heat. This is one of those moments where you play enough chess, you start to feel like a shark, and you smell blood. You smell blood, and you know there's got to be something juicy coming. Something coming your way. I have to note to self, that knight is still guarding c6. Don't blunder my queen. I really like this position. I think I am getting everything and more that I could want out of giving up a piece in the opening. Probably incorrectly. Definitely incorrectly. It's not probably. It's definitely incorrect. These lines exist. It's just that you need your bishop on c4. Does he have anything better than to grab this pawn? Does he have a defensive idea that maybe I'm missing? Get this rook out and then try to run? Oh, he won't be able to run until that bishop is dislodged, but maybe he could try to run after. That's a lot of shuffling. And this everything is still really dangerous. This a-pawn looms. All my pieces are active. This is a dangerous, dangerous position for black. It's probably not the time to go pawn hunting. What? I mean, I'm struggling to see anything better for black, but maybe trying to get a rook. Just getting more pieces around his king to defend and create defensive resources, because there's no counterplay for black. There isn't. Something like queen f6, eyeballing b2 still doesn't hold any water, because then I actually hit him with d6. So like so what I was saying there was, if he had tried to create a battery, his queen and his bishop are inverted on that battery, and it's not what he wants. And I actually had this move d6 if he played queen f6. and he's just busted. I have a couple of interesting opportunities. Maybe d6 is to be considered. Rook g1 is also good, pinning his bishop to his queen. I do like d6. I want to look at that first, because I want to deliver checkmate. d6, queen takes bishop, and queen takes bishop, pawn check, king up. I mean, I always have pawn takes knight to bail out, but that seems like d6, queen takes bishop, pawn takes with check, king here. I don't have a follow-up. No, I don't have a follow-up in that position. I can push to try to create a new anchor for my rook. Even that, I don't have a follow-up. He can even just give up, take the pawn. Here, the pawn push. Takes here, push, takes. And I would have this at the end because my queen is here, but that's getting really sharp, and I think it doesn't necessarily feel maybe better. Hang on, let's look at some other lines here. d6, we'll come back to that one. This and this is an interesting lever in the position. But what about okay, so takes, and then what if I don't take? What if I don't take with check? What if I do something crazy? What if I leave the pawn and I play rook f1, looking to take here? Am I being brilliant or stupid? That's probably the theme of this game. I definitely was stupid in the beginning. Maybe I was brilliant in the middle game. And maybe I'll be brilliant here to finish this somehow. Or I'll be stupid and get the loss I probably deserve at this point. But I don't worry about deserving that. I want to win. That is really interesting. d6, queen takes bishop, rook f1. Rook f1. Say that he defends that with... Well, no. Rook here, I can take that rook. No, I won't. My bishop's dead. Come, gosh, okay. Straighten out my thoughts. d6. Queen takes bishop. I'm actually closing my eyes for this to help me visualize what I'm trying to see here. Rook f1. Rook h f8. Now I take the pawn with check. His king comes here. Knight check. This is totally winning. This has got to be the move. Oh, I'm getting tunnel vision. I can't get tunnel vision. There's got to be other other moves. d6. d6. What if he doesn't take my bishop? d6. What if he just runs? What if he just straight runs? Doesn't take the free piece. And then his rook hangs. So that's not a move. d6. Can he run towards me? That feels suicidal. It looks stupid, but sometimes these things exist. Knight takes pawn with check. That can't be good. Everything falls apart there. d6. Does he have any defensive moves that I need to be aware of? What if he brings his knight in? Then I still take this pawn, and he's completely busted. d6, he has to take this bishop. Everything else is busted. The thing is, after d6, do I take or do I play rook f1? Or is there even something better? Oh, rook f1 looks really good, though. Rook f1 looks just like what the doctor ordered. I can't even think straight. I'm getting excited. I gotta calm down, close my eyes here for a moment. I think d6 wins. I am pretty sure d6 is winning. Rook g1 might be best. Okay, let's look at rook g1. d6, I think, is winning. It's going to be really hard not to play that move now that I've looked at all those lines. Rook g1. Say that he steps out of it with queen f4. No. Oh, we're coming down to crunch time. Things are gonna get sharp. If I had more time on the clock, I know it seems like 12 is a lot, and it is a lot, but I've got to go for d6. Rook g1 is not in the spirit of what what I've been doing all game. I have to go for d6, and bishop and queen takes bishop is forced. Yes. So now rook f1. How does he defend this position? I didn't see one. I didn't see a defense. He puts his bishop back, but this is getting really dangerous for him. This has to be good. This just has to be good. I can take this. Oh my gosh. There's a mate here. There has to be a mate here. There's something juicy. Look at this position. I'm very excited. I can win his queen. But I want to mate him. This is so good. This is so good. Oh my gosh. I definitely don't deserve the good things that have happened to me in this game. This is a very classic. When I think about this game, I am going to think of, am I brilliant or am I stupid? Which, for players who like early f4 thrusts, I'm sure. I mean, actually, probably most chess players have felt this way. This has got, what if there's a mate that starts with this? Yeah, and he resigns. What a game. There is no way I deserved to win that after the opening. Yeah, there's a mate. There's a mate. Okay. Of course there is. Look at this. Look at it. Yeah, I mean, even, wow. That was a ton of fun. It's not going to be pretty. He's in here too. Oh my goodness. This one definitely got away from him. I Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of that out of here. This is this is fine. This is fine. These Vienna Omaha Gambits are fine, but bishop c4, if you're gonna allow g4 pawn takes, is the thought, school of thought. d4 is just, and then uh I've looked at this position with bishop takes f4. I didn't even consider it, and I've looked at this before. I got too ahead of myself. I really just fell in love with the idea, the Muzio. I wonder if it's not even gonna flag it. It's not even gonna call it it. Um, so the Muzio Gambit for those. And let's see if I can remember my King's Gambit theory. Um, this and this, and then this, and here. Wild Muzio Gambit. There you go. So I got a much worse version of that, where I am just losing. And yeah, that was a lot of fun though. Definitely worse. This is all very fair. So where did black go wrong? Where did black go wrong? Um, Here. Yeah. It wasn't, it was the castling. We talked about that a little in the game. Um, yeah. There are so many moves. There are so many moves that give life in this position. And it's such a natural move. You're up a piece. You get your king to safety, then you get your pieces active. Um, it's really hard to fault a player for castling here. Let's look at the time that he spent on this move, though, because that's definitely, yeah, 2.6 seconds. That is the mark of a bullet player. Yeah, really strong. Really strong, probably in smaller time controls, less time controls, used to moving fast. But in a long 30 plus 5, you can't spend 3 seconds on this move. You just can't. Um, I only have a couple sources of play in these positions, and I was given them. I was given the only things I had going for me after castles, and now this is my counterplay. I'm already. I was saying I wasn't sure if I was better. I wasn't sure if I was winning, but Stockfish 10 does think that this is winning or close to winning for white with a4. What I wanted so badly to happen here was this position here. Oh, knight a7 check is better. I also looked at these here. I wanted a bishop d6 sacrifice really badly. I thought that bishop e3 and bishop a7 was better, but rook e4. Oh, rook e4. Wow. Wow. Nice lift. Nice lift. And if he hits my rook, then I come here because he's given up this square. Very nice. And if he doesn't have this development, and if he does something like that, then wow. I even have b4 because the rook is guarding this square. That is wild, and the knight guards the c3 pawn. That is wild. Um, the other thing is here. Knight, some rook e4. Okay, we looked at that. In this position, something like this, and now bishop a7 is crushing. Absolutely crushing. I'm trying to remember. There was a line I was looking at in the game where I believe in one of these where I was trying to envision a moment where I could take here, and upon rook takes, because the knight is still watching over, if rook takes, queen takes, knight, because I'm guarding these squares, and then rook check being mate while this rook is locked in behind. The king would be here, of course. The rook would come back, and then we would have a back rank mate. But wow. What is best here? E5. E5. Where? Oh no. D6 isn't even listed. Did I mess that up? Probably. I guess. Well, I felt like I was being brilliant, but I knew there was a risk I was being stupid. Rook G1 is only third best. The other move I thought was best. Rook F1 is good. I'm sure Rook G1 transposes, though. What is D6? Ooh. D6. Still winning. Still winning. It felt right. It felt right to play D6. Even if it wasn't the most accurate move. E5, wow, that's just totally crushing. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Well, I didn't play it. uh, I'll probably go back and look at all the variations here and really sort this one out, the tactics behind it. But I'm kind of just basking in the glow of this win, which I didn't deserve. There are many great pleasures in life, but swindling a game where you were worse out of the opening is one of those guilty pleasures that I'm sure you chess players can relate to. It's a delightful feeling. Maybe we're worse people for it, but I don't mind. I don't mind. I thought this was just a classy move, and I didn't see a defense. I didn't see a defense. Yeah. All right. Well, good game to MagiKarpov. I hope you took something from this video. If nothing else from this point A to point B, hopefully right here you remember don't play like that in the opening. You shouldn't. And if you do, just get wild. Go for the attack. Have some fun. Good luck in your chess, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.